During our annual meeting that we all had, um, AI seemed to come up a lot, and it's very obviously a trend that's coming up. So we decided that would be a great topic to talk on for this podcast. So with me, I have Ben and Skylar, and I'm Leah. And yeah, we're gonna get started. Is artificial intelligence taking over? And I guess you could look at that a few different ways. I feel like a lot of people like to go straight to the like I Am Legend thing, right? Like robots taking over.
Yeah, the Matrix and
That's a different movie.
I Am Legend's not the right movie, but
Nope, nope. But apocalyptic. I think that's where I was going.
it is apocalyptic.
No, what's the
Like
I Robot one? Was that also Will Smith?
like
I
Terminator
don't know.
with
It was also Will Smith. I got you. I got you. Yeah,
Okay,
iRobot is
thank
Will Smith.
you.
oh, that is Will Smith. Okay. Now I see where she's going with.
Yeah. Okay. So I think a lot of people have that fear. But then there's also the like less slightly dramatic fear of just like, is AI gonna even like take our jobs, right? Um, so yeah, there's a few things to cover. Um, First of all, I think we should start where Site Savvy originally started with the mindset of community and technology kind of interlacing. And that came from you guys. So what was your mindset behind that when we started kind of branding ourselves
Yeah,
towards that
heavily
direction?
influenced by a really cool startup in the Tri-Cities area, a sister city called And Yet. And my wife ended up getting hired there and worked there for a while. Their tagline was people first. And even though they were, working for like Walmart and doing some really impressive technology stuff, they were always putting on these conferences that included like artists, poets, writers, construction people, engineers, and developers and coders, like everybody. And they saw that these things are all related and the same,
Yeah.
which is not how a lot of people look at it. But they were like, these are creators at root. And art and culture, like that the arts influence technology and technology influences the arts. And if we embrace the combination, then you're a lot closer to something holistic and fun and like engaging for the community. And then taking that a step further, right? At the end of the day, we just have to remember that technology is here to improve the human experience.
Yeah.
And if we end up taking the human experience out of something, then it really doesn't have any value anymore. We are the observers of the world. We're the ones that all of this is here for. What's the point even of having a bunch of robots run everything if humans are just out of the picture? Who cares? Nobody cares at that point. Everybody just hates the robots,
Mhm.
right? That's what everybody's afraid of.
Yeah.
But most humans are making things for humans. And so our tagline is technology plus community, always keeping the two of them at the forefront of our minds and saying that the things we do with technology should improve our community and improve or strengthen community ties and relationships. Like it is basically just that same idea of like people first, not technology, people first.
It should be an enhancement, not a loss of something. And every time we've had like technological advancements in society, there is jobs that are lost and there is things that are taken over by the technology, but that generally leads to enhanced and better lives and opportunities for different types of jobs for those people that were working those jobs too. So
Yeah, and new types of jobs open up.
yeah, exactly.
So the trick into the future isn't worrying about losing jobs. It's understanding what kinds of new roles humans are going to play and then preparing yourself for that.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
you say AI, can we just clarify? What do you mean, Leah? What does that stand for?
artificial intelligence.
Okay, okay. And so like
Yep.
when I think of artificial intelligence, I guess when I get in my like fearful state, it would be that like it gets smarter than us. What do we think that's
Hmm.
happening?
Well,
No,
no.
and yeah, Sky and I have actually talked about that internally. Um, and he was talking about some like there's been a lot of tests and a lot of tests actually of like if people can outrank like computers. What was the one that you had talked about recently, Sky? It was like they were two. it was like competing in,
It was in
I don't know
chess
what it
book,
was.
right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
chess.
You've got this idea of centaurs, right? But instead of part human, part horse, you're part human, part machine. And the machine is there to augment the human abilities and make you a more effective human in certain, usually certain very specific technical ways. So the good example is that in like 98, 97, something around here, a computer-based artificial intelligence beat Gary Kasparov, the world grandmaster chess, guy, arguably the best chess player in history. And this was a big deal because for many, many years, for actually hundreds of years, believe it or not, people had been trying to make machines that would beat humans at chess and use that as a defining moment of like, look, machines are just as good as we are.
Mhm.
Well, okay, sure, but chess is highly specific, first of all, like highly, highly specific. And it took them a
Mhm.
lot of effort to beat a human at just that one thing. But secondly, it immediately spawned a subculture of chess players. It's called freestyle, where you're not just human and you're not just machine. You're actually a human with a computer that's helping you. And you use the human component for deciding on a long-term strategy or a goal or coming up with a novel, potential solution for a weird problem. And then you combine that with the massive computational power of a computer that can iterate through, potentially millions of chess moves and give you some feedback on like how to implement that idea. How could that be successful? What are the odds of it succeeding? Right? Now imagine how powerful even a moderate chess player is with that kind of data at their fingertips. I have this idea. What are the odds that it will succeed? And what's the optimal way to implement this? Boom, you get that feedback. The
Oh yeah,
computers are actually not super great at,
that
you know,
creative thinking.
no, yeah, a human still comes up with things that a computer never would. Now, sometimes a computer comes up with a thing a human never would, but it takes the human to look at it and say, oh, that's an interesting idea. Let's try that one because
Kind of,
I can see how that would tie into a different strategy.
kind of that 1 + 1 = 3 sometimes with like when you're using
Uh-huh.
creativity, like you can come up with a more evolved solution without more inputs. But computers only work on inputs, like it's zeros and ones. They're not coming up with something new. They're generally pulling from something else.
No, they're just computing odds.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that humans are not super great at determining, with 100% accuracy when they should do what the computer says, nor is the computer super good at determining with accuracy when it should do what the human says. So what you have still is a vastly enhanced output or capability for the human, and still a lot of art.
Yeah.
Like it's an art form, knowing when to go with the computer and when to stick to your own guns. Um, and it's an interesting field of study, just not right. But the general principle here is, it sounds a lot like community, doesn't it? We're better together.
Mm-hmm.
A human is better with technology, and technology is better with the human. These freestylers handily beat the AIs still. Like an AI without a human has no chance.
Yeah. Agreed.
Is that the HuffPost that you're talking about?
Yeah, I did. I shared
The
a HuffPost Post
article
article
from
that
them.
kind of encapsulates a lot of these ideas. It's a good, digestible read. We could probably share
Okay.
that link in the
Yeah.
footnotes.
Be good.
So I wanted to give some examples because I feel like it really just hit the market, at least to the main public, like last year. And it's really been ramping up. But the two main examples that I can see is like I know on TikTok, there's these like AI generating images where you can, take a picture of your face and then it generates it into like anime or whatever, right? And people are just like they're taking pictures of everything. They're like, I don't even have time anymore. Like I want to know what I can create with it because it's always like unique and crazy.
Yeah.
And then a friend of ours, he took a bunch of pictures that he had and he put it through an AI generator and created a bunch of these really cool like ballroom pictures with like people in ball gowns and stuff. And they're incredible. Like it's you can still it's like abstract and you're not exactly seeing faces, but you still get the idea of what you're looking at and you're still like, wow, that's like amazing. There
You're
was a
getting the
few where I'm like,
impression, right?
I'm like, you could make money off of this. Like, this is like a masterpiece. Like, I don't know how just uploading this into an app and then you give the app like an idea of what you're looking for, right? Just like Jasper, right? We use Jasper um, AI or Jarvis or whatever for content creation. Same idea. You like put a little quote in there, and there's like 20 different things that you can do to it. You can improve it. You can like really draw it out or add more to it. And of course, you're going back and editing it afterwards before you publish it. But um, I mean, those are at least the two examples that I've run into. What about you guys?
Well, the big one out there right now is Chat GPT. And I know some people, without getting into specifics, because they're making some applications, but tangentially they're using it to do the bulk of drafting for like contracts. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
spits out a lot of the technical language, a lot of the volume of the words, especially in certain situations where you have to hit certain word counts. They're essentially requiring that you build out some fluff and just a lot of details. You can just be like, hey, ChatGPT, just give me like 2,000 words on this topic, and boom, it's going to give you some really good stuff that you can, lightly edit and be good to go.
Right.
So that's really powerful. It's also being used in code generation. So, I pay $10 a month right now for GitHub Copilot. And in the old days, when I would type out a line of code, maybe a really intelligent system would give me some autocomplete suggestions that was just like finishing the line. And now it will spit out up to hundreds of lines of code. I can just write a comment and say, I need a code function that does X, Y, Z, and it just like blurts out the whole thing. And it's usually really good. So that's a massive time saver for developers and coders.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a new one for like parking tickets and speeding tickets and red light tickets and stuff like that. And so it's an AI lawyer, and so you pay for a certain cost, and they have all the forms, they have all the stuff that lawyers do. They pre-fill it, and then they have some lawyer that reviews it and sends it on and tries to help you fight those claims and stuff like that. I mean, there's going to be a lot of applications that are going to provide a lot of value to people because technology is meant to be used.
This is actually kind of an exciting intersection of two technologies, but imagine combining that with the blockchain smart contract technology and then having an AI that helps you find the right ones.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a potent combination. Well, I'm not going to sidebar, but that's exciting stuff.
Like crypto in that whole space is that it's not a bad technology. It just hasn't been implemented right yet. And so
yeah, no, like the world doesn't need another fiat currency, but the underlying technology still has some exciting use cases.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. So Leah, do you want me to give you I'm going to try to write a better article than yours.
Oh, okay.
With Jasper. We can just at least
test it out. That'd be fun.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, so I just went in here and it's the one-shot blog post. So Jasper AI is a AI that's read the internet. I think it's like 80% digested the internet. And so it pulls content and ideas and recrafts and rewords so that it doesn't meet any plagiarism, and then gives you outputs. I've been really liking this one-shot blog post output because you don't have to give it much, and then you get a decent amount of content that you can rewrite and give yourself. So,
oh yeah, Jasper uses OpenAI under the hood, so it uses the same fundamental technology that ChatGPT does. I just looked that up. I was curious.
Is artificial intelligence taking over? No.
I did literally copy your subject. And so then it gives me, so what I always have it is gives me 3 outputs. And so
I guess I didn't expect an actual full blog. I was still thinking like social media, not.
No, that's what's crazy. It's like a full blog, and it gives you 3 full blogs. And so sometimes like it's pulling and combining them. The content's generally pretty good. And for me, like I really like making content better, but I struggle with like sitting down and typing words out a lot. And so it's like I have an idea. I also read a lot of articles, and so I have a lot of the content they're pulling is like from stuff I've read, and so you can just digest it and make it into some stuff.
Well, here's a fun one. Like you can these things. This is surprising, but these things actually thrive on more specific feedback too. So like you can feed it the the tone that you want. You can feed it an outline of points that you want it to hit. When you want to get really specific about like, these are the ideas that I know I want to include. And it'll come back with really good stuff that you just have to edit.
Yeah, some of the templates are way more intricate and provide much more detailed content. It really is, I think it would be really good for a lot of e-commerce brands to use, because you can put in super descriptive of what the product you're selling. When you're trying to sell like a service like ours, you can't really use any of their like blog post or their like Facebook ad stuff, because it doesn't really work for our content, for like us being like a branding service. I've tried to run a couple of those and it doesn't really get it very well, because branding's kind of too abstract of like a deliverable. But if you have like these chairs, and then you can describe these chairs that you're building, then you can really build out some cool content from those. So lots of applications. I like this one, explain it to a child. Sometimes that's definitely needed. My other one I use a lot is when I've written something, you can go just throw in the content and then you can generate it and it will give you it improved or rewritten. So it's not deleting your content too much, but it enhances it. And so it's kind of like having someone flesh out your paper for you. So.
I'd be really interested to see what the results are of taking the transcription from Otter AI, dropping it into Jasper and saying like, give me a few different formatted articles based on this content.
I think we should definitely play around with it, but this is it's like $150 a month or something like that. It's not cheap. And I'm using a lot of AI power, and that's where people have to realize that like, it's not, there's a cost related to it. It's not just magic. Like there's computational cost on servers using power and energy at the same time. So while we're losing maybe a person writing this, we're gaining those jobs that help produce that stuff too. So it's a give and a take.
Yep.
So I'm going to play the devil's advocate, because I've gotten this a lot, not with artificial intelligence, just kind of being in the world of technology. I've gotten this a lot from the older generation. And so what would you guys say to just someone that they see what we're doing and they're like, you know, and I guess, and they don't view it as like you are maybe working hard, or like you're doing like a thorough job. Like, how do you explain like the efficiency behind it so we can do a better job at other stuff? You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm running a small business. I have 1,000 things to do right now. And if I can if I can save 2 hours writing a blog article, I have so many other things to do that the AI can't do for me. Yeah. I mean, I'm architecting software. I'm trying to figure out a sales and marketing campaign. Again, not very abstract stuff that's national for, our clientele for Connect 211. I'm constantly fielding support requests and having meetings with people who are, doing updates for the search engines. I'm sitting on the board for a specification, international data specification, and constantly giving them feedback and like trying to engineer and architect and find bugs in these data specifications. Like, my God, it's hard. It is hard. It's increasingly hard to be competitive in this world, and you have to do a lot of things to keep up. And AI just gives me a little extra reach to get some things done and focus on where the value really is. And to me, that's the overarching theme of AI. If a computer can do it, it's not worth your time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, but you as a human, your potential is better spent on things that computers can't do.
Yeah.
Because like Ben said, AI is still fundamentally just massive computation. And yes, there's more complexity to it than that, but it still takes a human to be strategic. It takes a human to be creative and novel. It takes a human to care and to love.
Well,
why we're doing any of it.
Even the best AIs that are out there today have been trained by a human in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of like how that person is strategic that's ingrained in how they're looking at everything. And so there's a lot of work that goes into it. And now just because it's really easy for me to write a blog now doesn't mean that it doesn't require my human eyes to review it and to make sure I'm using it correctly and it's not saying things that are crazy. I mean, like that's where that human relationship with that technology and community has to come together.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, because I've gotten that a lot. And I think also just work, like working hard or whatever has looked so different over the years, and especially because our society is so fast now. Like ever since the internet came in, it's like every year it gets faster, and culture and technology. So yeah, we have to work with a very high, fast paced like environment. And so anyway, I think that
Things are so much more connected.
yeah.
Back when you'd have an earthquake before there was the internet, you would get it by telephone lines and stuff. It wasn't instantaneous that you were getting that information. Mm-hmm. Whereas now we know about an earthquake that happened last night the second it happens on our phones.
Yep.
Like it's crazy. And so like we're a much more connected society. And so that means we have to scale at a different pace, but that allows technology to provide a lot of uses in that scale.
Here's an interesting misconception. In a world of AI, the only job for human is a desk job. And I say this because I have a lot of personal friends who want to work with their hands, and there's a conflation, right? Because the Industrial Revolution turned humans into widgets that all help turn out the same little widgets. We're all just widgets, and we're making more widgets, and everybody gets the same kind of chair, being turned out by this conveyor, this assembly line. It reduced the amount of variety. It increased the quality, but reduced the amount of variety in chairs. If you go back in time, then every chair was unique because everyone was handmade by somebody. And there's a lot of craftsmanship that went into that. And then the Industrial Revolution kind of made craftsmanship harder to be viable as a career. And everybody worked in a factory. And we're essentially having all those factory jobs get replaced by computers now. And artificial intelligence can do a certain amount of designing and making of things, but it's all based on what humans have already done. All of the art being generated by AI is being trained on the artwork that some human already created. They haven't created things on their own that is particularly appealing to humans. And, and we're the ones that matter. Like, I'm sorry, but we are. So imagine that as you go into this future age, it's not that you're going to lose your factory job. It's that you can gain the opportunity to be a craftsman again. Because as AI continues to make those assembly line chairs, anybody who wants a work of art is still going to need to find a craftsman who had the original conception for something. And this is, hopefully in the happy future. The world's not perfect, and there's a lot of ways this can go off the rails, but hopefully people get liberated. Technology does the boring stuff, but society still gets sustained, and people can focus on that really valuable human component of like art and uniqueness.
Yeah, and creativity.
Yeah.
Good. I also wanted to mention that we are actually currently using Otter.ai right now to record everything we're saying in the Zoom video and transcribing our words. And I'm opening it up in another tab. Actually, I'll share my screen just really quickly.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, all the pop-ups. So yeah, as we are talking, are these pop-ups in your guys' way?
No.
No? Okay. So yeah, as we're talking, it is transcribing it. And later, after we're done with this call, I can copy and paste all this into a blog post that we pair with our videos, edit it a little bit, and now I don't have to write up everything that we just talked about. It just saves so much time. Yeah.
I'm noticing that it's automatically editing out most of your ums, which is kind of cool.
I guess so, yeah. I didn't think of that. Yeah, and then I can go back and each of these little speakers, I can assign who is me, Ben, and Skylar, and then it will auto-populate all of the rest
and give us
to the correct speakers. And what?
And give us the takeaways, right?
Yeah. So at the end, it's going to, right on the right-hand side, it's going to show kind of an outline of everything that we talked about, kind of the highlights and stuff. And at the very top, it's going to show like all the keywords, like the majority of the keywords that were mentioned. And we're on the free version. So
that's pretty cool.
Anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for going over that and the examples. And just, moving forward, don't be afraid of AI. It's okay. just use it to your advantage, but it's kind of impossible to replace a human connection.
That's right. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. All right. Have a
Cheers,
good one.
everybody.
Take care,
Bye.
guys.